Minority MPP members of parliament accuses the speaker of taking unilateral decisions on the Constitution Review Commission's recommendation on entrenched provisions. The MPs say the Speaker exceeded his powers in taking a decision to forward the document containing the recommendations to the Council of State without recourse to Parliament. So, did the Speaker err, or perhaps the minority MPs are just blowing hot fumes over a pretty simple issue? We'll find out. My name is Stephen N.T. and this is today's big story. Now, addressing a news conference on the issue, MP for Bekwai Joe Osei, who is also chairman of the Parliament's Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Committee, said the Speaker is not a member of Parliament and has no legislative powers vested in him to act alone. So we apologize for the poor quality of our sound. I will bring you that sound bite later on. Mr. Osei also believes, and I quote, the whole process of constitutional amendment is turning out to be nothing other than an executive review of the national constitution. And he says, we are trying to get MPs from both the minority, we're trying to find MPs from both minority sides to speak on this issue. But let's first hear from Regina Oforiwa Amanfo Tete, who is a CDD Programs Director in charge of Parliamentary Affairs. She now joins us on phone. Good evening, Madam, and thanks for joining us on today's big story.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
So, I know the back and forth between the minority and the majority to the extent that the minority thinks that the Speaker outstepped the boundaries. Majority also feels, no, the Speaker stayed within his boundaries. What is usually the norm? Can a Speaker forward such a document to the Council of State without recourse to the rest of the House?
Thank you. First, let me say that I'm not a lawyer, but my layman understanding of the Article 290 in the Constitution shows that on the procedural issues, the Speaker did no wrong. He actually acted within the law. Because when you check on the amendment of entrenched provision, Article 2902 says that a bill for the amendment of an entrenched provision shall, before Parliament proceeds to consider it, be referred by the Speaker to the Council of State for his advice, and the Council of State shall render advice on the bill within 30 days after receiving it. When you look at the clause 3, it continues that the bill shall be published in the Gazette but shall not be introduced into Parliament until the expiry of 12 months after the publication in the Gazette. So for me, the Speaker did no wrong. He actually acted within his mandate.
Right, so I mean, what this suggests is that possibly the minority is just picking up on a simple legal issue to blow it out of proportion. Is that what it appears to be?
Well, I think for me as a governance person, what is problematic here is the decision to use government white paper as a basis for preparing an amendment bill. We all know that the National Constitutional Review Commission took time and resources to do consultations throughout the country on the issues and did their report. After the report, what do we have? what the government is saying is rather going into the bill. So for me, that is where the problem is.
Well, I mean, I want to refer to Joe Osei's statement in which he said that he made reference to Article 290, which deals with legislative process, which any petition of the Constitution may be amended. He said that it must be stated that from the outset, the Speaker is not a member of Parliament. To that extent, there is no legislative power vested in him acting alone. So on this particular statement, was he wrong or right in saying that the Speaker, in going ahead to submit the document to the Council of State, possibly erred in reference to Article 290?
No, I think I've stated that I really disagree with him because when you check the clause 290 clause 2 is very straight. It actually refers to the Speaker. It actually says that the Speaker will receive it and then hand it over to the Council of State for its advice. So here the Speaker is actually mentioned. So I really do not understand why he jumped clause 2 to the clause 3, talking about the bill being published in the Gazette and also shall not be introduced into Parliament until the expiry of 6 months after the publication in the Gazette. So the clause, if we look at the Article 290 clause 2, is really specific on what the Speaker should do. And I think that is exactly what the Speaker did.
Right. Madam, I'll have you hold. I have Joe Osei himself, the chairman of the Parliament's Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Committee, MP for Bekwai. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us on today's big story.
You're welcome.
It does appear that the Majority Leader, Dr. Ben Kumbo, feels that the Speaker has been within his remit to submit this document to the Council of State, and the CDD Programs Director for Parliamentary Affairs also believes same. So on what basis did you arrive at the conclusion that the Speaker acted ultra-vires?
Okay, one, we are saying that to make the effect of giving that to land is true. Rather than talking about doing saying before Parliament proceeds to consider it. The matter is not for Parliament. How would we proceed to consider it? So when the Speaker receives
well, Honourable, your line is pretty not clear. If you could reposition yourself, we'll hear you. We're getting breaks from your line, so we'll be very grateful. We can try and hear you. Let's hear it. Let's carry on with the conversation, and we'll see how it goes. Yes.
I'm saying that Article 292 itself is that before Parliament proceeds to consider it, it is presupposes that the matter of the document will be before Parliament.
Okay.
So if the Speaker receives it, he cannot go to act on behalf of Parliament and forward it to the Council of State without the matter being mentioned or being brought to Parliament in plenary. So I'm saying that was a misstep. Two, he's saying that should be elected after this part. But go to Article 90. What does Article 90 say about Council of State? The Council of State shall consider bills, one, after it's been gazetted or after Parliament has passed it. So it cannot go to the Council of State unless it is gazetted or Parliament has passed. And unless you read the whole of Article 290 and realize that it's a legislative process that article is describing, you are bound to enter into the error which suggest the Speaker has entered, assuming that it is a standalone provision. It's actually the initiation of a legislative process. And the Speaker is not a member of Parliament, cannot, sitting alone or voting alone, initiate legislative process.
But the argument here is that you've been acting on Article 290 as a standalone without clearly making reference to Clause 2, really. And you have just explained to us that the assumption in Article 290 is to suggest that the issue is before Parliament. Couldn't there have been any other means by which you would raise this issue to the attention of the Speaker than a press conference?
Well, if you read our document, we have stated that the Minority Leader did right to point out the missteps that we observed. To this is the first time it is coming up. I know they have been engaging one another on phone on a number of days before we got to this place. So we are not starting now. It has started earlier. There are attempts to be decided within leadership quietly. But the speaker thought that he was right. Therefore, we thought this matter should be brought up and discussed newly.
Right. We'll still have you hold, sir, and then just switch back to Madam Regina Amanfo-Tetteh. So, Madam, if you heard Joe Osei, so he seemed to be making the argument that, I mean, before reference to Article 290, Clause 2 and 3, it is assumed that the issue should be before Parliament, which wasn't the case.
Well, Honorable Osei is a lawyer, and I'm not, but I'm taking I see in the Constitution, which says that the bill for the amendment of an entrenched provision shall, before Parliament proceeds to consider it. That is where the point is. Before Parliament proceeds to consider it, be referred by the Speaker. So for me, reading from what is in the Constitution, I think the Speaker acted within his power, acted within the law.
Right.
That is the point. I'm actually taking what is in the Constitution.
And
I cannot make any assumptions because I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think we need to make assumptions here because the Constitution is very strict.
It's very clear
on it.
And now, I know you're an expert in parliamentary affairs for CDD, so these back and forth, usually what should be the approach in dealing with this so that it doesn't look as if the minority in granting a press conference appears to be blowing hot air really and making the issue a bigger deal than it should be?
I think my advice is that there should be the stakeholders in Parliament need to build trust. They actually need to build trust so that there is deepening continuous dialogue to avoid such issues coming into the public domain. This is, for me, this is not an issue that should come into the public discussion. So it tells us that there is some lack of trust somewhere, and that is why they really need to build trust. They need to work on that so that they will have continuous dialogue, continuous discussions on issues in the House, rather than coming outside to put such issues into the public domain. And one thing I also want to say on this issue is the National Constitutional Review Implementation Committee needs to do broadened consultations, because we can take an example from Kenya. In Kenya, in the run-up to the referendum, there was a wider public engagement on the reforms proposed for review in the Constitution. So it is necessary that we too learn from this example so that we can have broader engagement with civil society organizations and access outside the government, because it seems that it is just the government view, because National Constitution Review Commission, as I stated earlier, did wider consultations, took majority views on the issues. Why is it that now it's only what the government is saying that is what is going into the bill? We really need to have broader consultations on the issues.
Right. So, Honorable Joe Osei, if you're still there, I mean, earlier when we spoke to Alhaji Muntaka Mohammed, who is also a member of the committee on which you are on, what he suggests was that you are seeking, the minority is seeking to dirty the linen of Parliament in public. Is that what it is?
Well, first, I find that very interesting. I would like to comment on the statement made by the CDD representative. CDD is a congressional organization. Now, to critically examine the whole process of constitutional review, whether it is a national constitutional review or an executive constitutional review. So what is happening is that the president, acting on the executive power, constitutes a constitutional review committee. After that, the report comes, it is presented to him. That report is not sent to Parliament representatives or it's not discussed by any group. Then they get acting on their own executive power, uses the white power to change some of the recommendations. That is also an executive act. And now we are the next step where executive gives instructions to the speaker and the speaker carries it through without reference to the institution of Parliament, sitting as a Senate.
But the issue appears that you do not trust that the right decisions will be taken. This is the same thing that Madam Regina Amanfo-Tetteh is raising, that you should be developing trust.
The right or wrong decision. It should be about a national discussion. Views across board should be sought, discussed, should be open. That is why it is requested that when an amendment, before amendment is started, it is gazetted and it lets lie for 6 months. That will enable all people, all interest groups to discuss the matter. But to Muntaka, I don't see what is there here discussing a constitutional amendment process and how that can be an internal matter. What is interesting is the saying that we have waited and done internal consultation. The data has taken and time is running from the day he purported to transmit the document to the Council of State. 30 days of Parliament is running. By the time Parliament resumes, the day Parliament resumes, the last of the 30 days. Parliament can do nothing. So straight from there, it goes to referendum. After that, can we go that an act of Parliament? The people are looking at discussion. Definitely have stopping this. But this is an executive exercise. Go running through all the way to the Council of State. As we speak, I don't know whether the lady either person knows the content of the amendment. I'm the writing member. I don't know the content. I heard Honorable Babin, who is my chairman, Constitutional Legal Affairs. He doesn't know the content. So which Parliament Act are we going to pass? These are the issues we're saying that we should discuss dispassionately. It's not about anybody. It's about amending a constitution of Ghana and that process being guided by the executive, using the executive power to start and conclude the process to the exclusion of Parliament and the rest of Ghana.
Right, so you also mentioned that you started a series of processes to get the attention of the Speaker on this issue. What responses have you been getting?
Nothing yet. Nothing.
And so, really, let's get to understand, what is it now you want? What do you require to be done for you to be happy?
We want the process to go through the proper procedure which is prescribed by the Constitution. It is an act of Parliament that is required to amend the Constitution. Now, I think everybody should say, when you look at the non-unentrenching provisions, says that two-thirds of Parliament. And when it comes to entrenched provisions, I think the understanding is that third plus referendum. I don't know what everybody understood. I debate that Parliament is totally out of the equation when it comes to entrenched provisions. It goes straight from the executive to Council of State to referendum, and then it is passed. That cannot be allowed.
Right, Honorable Osei, we're grateful for your time. Your line is a bit bad. We'll try and re-establish contact with you to see if we'll get a clearer line. And Madam Regina Amanfo-Tetteh, you're still on. I'm sure you may have heard elements or bits and bobs of Honorable Osei's comments. Is there anything you want to react to?
No, not really a reaction, but only to advise that I think that there is need for more consultation. They can have discussions with the Speaker, or the leadership can have discussions on the issues and deal with it. And I think I support Honorable Osei this idea of broadening the consultation. It shouldn't be like it's just government and or the executive. No, because the Constitution affects all of us. It's about us. So there should be broader consultation, and both majority and minority should be deeply involved.
So, Madam, when you say broader consultation, what else will be broader than engaging minority and majority on this? Are you suggesting that perhaps civil society groups and other individuals should all be included in the discourse?
Exactly. Society organizations should be deeply involved. Other actors, not only in government, should also be part of it. Because, as I said, we have a best example in Kenya, and that is exactly what they did. And now they have one of the best constitutions in the world. So I think we really need to have broader consultations, and the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee should take this one up.
Right. Madam Regina Amanfo Tete, we're very grateful for time. We still have Osei back on the line. So we'll hope that we can get you clearer this time. So the issue of broader consultation, the minority is concerned that there've not been sufficient consultation in this. What kind of consultation would you consider broad?
Well, those are the words of IDB. But I think that the proposal should be debated. It should be subject to a national debate. So far, everything that has happened is the executive proposal. The Constitutional Review Commission was set up by the president with his executive power. It does not reflect, the Constitution does not say anywhere that when we are going to amend or wish to amend the Constitution, we should go by executive instrument. No. The implementation committee that has been set up is an executive act. But the real amendment is a parliamentary process. And so as far as I'm concerned, the parliamentary process should require Parliament itself taking the documents, the proposals, and taking them around for public discussion, wider civil society engagement. Now consider the IDEG-led discussions that were held about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. If you consider those discussions, are they reflected in this amendment? The consensus that were reached by the broader term, including all the stakeholders in the country, including the Peace Council and so on, those consensus and recommendations, are they reflected in this decision? Are those ones the contents of or the recommendations of the committee? Are they a true reflection of what Ghanaians want? Who has determined that? There's no other a better place than the forum where every Ghanaian is represented. A discussion of that matter, where everybody can make representation to. Parliament is a place where before an act is discussed, the public is invited. Come and make your submissions, bring your contributions. We hold public discussions, public meetings. We travel around the country and discuss these matters. That is the work of Parliament, not the work of the executive. But so far, what is happening is the executive hijacking the work of Parliament, and when it comes to the crunch, jumping over Parliament to try and bring its views into fruition. Now, the white paper, that's the executive issue. Where is its constitutional basis? It is the president and his team putting across their views as opposed to the commission they set up, and then formulating their views as a constitutional amendment, and then jumping over Parliament, avoiding any discussion of those matters in Parliament, and going to a referendum. Who is going to educate the public? We, the members of Parliament who represent the people of the ground, don't know the contents. How are we going to talk about them to our constituents?
Right. So,
in the end, what may happen is that we tell our constituents, don't vote for it. We would have wasted public funds if we went through a referendum and we couldn't get the required percentages.
Right. Well, when I was speaking to you about what action you want taken, your line was not too clear. So I want, for the benefit of those who didn't hear us clearly, for you to tell us, what do you wish to achieve? Are you hoping to reverse this procedure that has started?
Well, first, we want the procedure to be reversed. We want the document to be gazetted and enable every Ghanaian to make contributions to the discussions. The terms of the amendment be known. As you speak, do you know the terms of the amendment? Do you know the content? But as soon as it comes out of the Council of State, it should go for a referendum. How are you going to educate the public to make an informed decision? This is what we want to avoid.
Right.
So we are asking that it be gazetted. The gazette lies for 6 months. Or as much public discussion as possible should be done. Then we form opinion. In these matters, I think it involves a lot of negotiations where interests clash. But in many of these stuff, I suspect that there may not be a lot of controversy. But if we don't know, we will generate animosity and controversy over nothing. And in the end, we may end up not achieving what we set out to achieve.
Thank you very much, Honourable Osei, who is MP for Bekwai and Chairman of the Parliamentary Legal Committee of Parliament. We've been trying to reach the Majority Chief Whip, Alhaji Mohammed Muntaka Mohammed. We've not been able to get through, and Dr. Kumbo, who spoke to Joy FM earlier, is unable to speak to us on the matter, so we can get the views of the majority. But I'll give you the final word, Madam Regina Amanfotete. Here we are. I mean, the minority is... Right. I'm sorry. I hear that she's gone. That's how we wrap on today's big story. My name is Stephen Enti, and thanks for staying with us. We'll be right back with an interactive statement. Don't go away.